Horror has always been my kryptonite. I've always watched videos and stuff on a bunch of horror games, but I never really got into it because I was kind of too scared. But I was always interested in them, especially Resident Evil. It always looked really interesting to me and the characters always looked really cool. But I have never played them up until recently. And now I can confidently say that I do like Resident Evil quite a bit. Anyway, I'm gonna ramble about some games, starting with Resident Evil 0. RE0 is decent, but it feels a bit weaker compared to the rest of the games I've played. I think it looks and controls alright, although I'm not a fan of tank controls. I just wish it was as good as the RE1 remake that came out around the same time. This game looks really good though, especially for the time when it came out. So basically, to sum it up, good graphics, cool characters, weird story, annoying enemies, not very scary. Fun fact, I'm actually a Rebecca Chambers main in Dead by Daylight, because she is like so girl cool. The atmosphere of Resident Evil 1 is crazy, and this is actually a pretty scary experience for the most part, especially for the time, and it has some really interesting enemies and mechanics. Although the real horror from this game comes from the camera angles. The puzzles are pretty fun and interesting to solve, although I didn't solve most of it by myself because I just looked at YouTube videos on what to do. Also, sorry for the lack of RE1 footage. I had to use RE5's Lost in Nightmares because I don't know where all that RE1 footage went. Resident Evil 2 is probably my favorite one I've played so far. The dark, eerie hallways full of zombies trying to grab you and bash windows and doors down always keeps you on edge. And then you got this guy, and this game is a lot more accessible compared to the previous games I've played, and it looks crazy good too. Like, look at how pretty they made Leon and Claire. Speaking of which, I like how these two feel like much more fleshed out characters. Resident Evil 3 is a very action oriented game. Some people may not like this, but I really like it because it's very cool. You're always going through like some big action set piece, and I feel like I was pretty well equipped for most scenarios. The zombies don't feel like they have that much of a presence in this game, which is a bit of a shame because this is during the Raccoon City incident. Although that might be because of the new threat of the game being so much more overwhelming compared to them. The Nemesis. This big ass guy who chases you throughout the whole game. He is cool as hell, I'm telling you. RE3 Remake is a very short game, and it can feel a bit lazy at times, but I had a lot of fun with this game, even if it takes a lot away from the original. Resident Evil 4 Remake is so good. The game controls like heaven. Every weapon feels really good to use. You get a parry with your knife, and it's the coolest thing ever. The combat interactions were so much fun, like I never wanted to skip an enemy encounter. And the story and the main characters all feel very well written, although the story feels like it's lost a bit of the charm compared to the original, although I can't really say it because I haven't played the original RE4 yet. Okay, so now I have played the original Resident Evil 4, and I think it holds up pretty well. The tank controls are a bit weird at first, but I got used to them pretty quickly, and I had a pretty good time. The story and characters were a bit silly, but it's so fun and has a lot of charm. Overall, I think the remake is better than the OG. I think it does a better job with humanizing the characters and making the story less insane. It is interesting to see what these games do different from each other though. Resident Evil 5 is alright. It very much feels like a product of its time. This really feels like an Xbox 360/PS3 game. It's a bit boring at times, and it feels pretty far detached from what the series was originally going for. This game can get quite ridiculous at times, and that's probably when it's at its best. This is my favorite rendition of Chris. All of his design, and his voice, and his boulder punching action. Wesker 2 is a blast to watch. He's just so goofy, and he's also like unironically cool too. And the game gets a million times better whenever he's on screen. I don't really like how they sidelined Jill though. Sheva is alright, but I would be lying if I didn't say I would have much more preferred Jill. Luckily, Lost in Nightmares exists, and it kind of mugs the entire game. Resident Evil 6 is such a drag to play, and I've never fully completed it. But it's also utterly absurd. There's always some kind of explosion or fucking dinosaur or some crap happening on screen. It is even more far detached from the series than what Resident Evil 5 was. But that doesn't really make up for like, it's not scary, it's not fun a lot of the time, and the story is just not interesting in the slightest. This game will just throw zombies at you and like all this crap. It just feels like a Left 4 Dead game a bunch of the time. Combat feels so bleh. Nothing feels satisfying, and it feels like there just is not that much depth in the gameplay. Even this UI sucks. I hate the way the UI is in this game. My favorite thing to come out from this game is all the crazy shit, and also Jake and Sherry. Even if the idea of Wesker's son is stupid. But hey, if Virgil can have a kid, why can't Wesker have a kid? Anyway, that's all the games I've played. I don't really want to talk about 6 or 7, because they're really scary and gross. Maybe I'll play them and cover them sometime in the future, but back to the thing at hand. and I think Resident Evil 2 might be the best Resident Evil game, but I really like Resident Evil 4. It's just really fun, and I think it's probably got my favorite story. Oh, and here's my ranking. Okay, now bye bye.